Just imagine this. The AfD wins 35 seats in the Baden-Württemberg state parliament election, 3 times as many as the SPD. And what does ZDF do? They show a graphic where the AfD bar is barely bigger than the SPD's. Is that a coincidence? Is it a mistake? Or is it deliberate manipulation to make the AfD's election success look smaller? I took a very close look at this graphic and even recreated it myself. And what came out of that is truly unbelievable. It has also become known that in 67 municipalities in Baden-Württemberg, the AfD received over 30% of the vote, and in one municipality even 74%. That is insane. The Baden-Württemberg election is over, and the result does not surprise me at all. In our country, and especially among the citizens of Baden-Württemberg, people are still doing far too well to finally realise what kind of catastrophe the establishment parties are causing in Germany. We are now in the 3rd year of recession, and we are currently burning through the substance of our entire economy. The old parties are only hiding this with their new XXL debts, and the big shock will come later. If we hadn't taken on 1.5 trillion in new debt, we would have already been bankrupt by now. But somehow the citizens in Baden-Württemberg don't seem to realise this, and that is why the election result turned out the way it did. However, there are also some municipalities in Baden-Württemberg that apparently understood how critical the situation really is, and where 74% voted for the AfD. Let's take a look at this sensational result, and then afterwards at the impressive ZDF graphics. In this polling station, 74% voted for the AfD. When people talk about right-wing strongholds in Germany, they usually refer to villages in eastern Germany. But the Baden-Württemberg state election shows that even in the West, there are now many regions where the majority of voters support the AfD. In one polling station in Hügelsheim, the party received 74% of the second votes. Hügelsheim is an asparagus village located directly at the Karlsruhe Baden airport, near the German-French border. People from more than 63 nations live there. The village has 2 geographically separated areas: the old village and a former barrack settlement. Many late repatriates from Russia moved there in the mid-1990s. And here comes the interesting part. According to reports, many residents get their information from Russian television and place particular importance on national political issues such as the economy, migration, and security. This is just typical German mainstream media again. Yes, of course, Putin is to blame. Whenever something happens that doesn't fit their narrative, or when something looks politically uncomfortable, the blame is once again placed on Putin. And in this case, they claim that AfD voters are influenced by Russian television, focusing on national political issues. But how ridiculous that claim is becomes clear when you compare it with nationwide polls. Think about it. Currently, the AfD stands somewhere between 25% and 30% nationwide, and that already includes the strong support in eastern Germany. So if national political issues produce 25-30% support across Germany, why would those same issues produce 74% support in this municipality? You can clearly see that this explanation makes absolutely no sense. It's simply an attempt to discredit the AfD's strong results because some people cannot accept them. The AfD actually doubled its result in Baden-Württemberg, and that is a huge success. Even in large cities, the AfD recorded strong gains, and in some places reached 30% or more. And this was not an isolated case. In another polling station called Memminger-Warne, in the municipality of Giengen an der Brenz, 68% voted blue. Overall, the AfD achieved 13 polling station results above 60%. Half of those are located in Pforzheim. In 38 polling stations, the AfD received at least 50% of the vote. In 18 polling stations, the AfD received at least 40%. And in 17 districts, more than 30% of voters supported the AfD. In total, the AfD received over 30% of the vote in 67 municipalities across Baden-Württemberg. And these are not just small villages. Medium-sized towns such as Trossingen and Eppingen are also included. So as you can see, even in the traditionally green state of Baden-Württemberg, the AfD achieved very strong results. And in the coming years, those numbers could increase even further. Historically speaking, the old federal states are simply a few years behind the eastern states, but that's not a problem. While eastern Germany is already approaching the 40% mark, and in Saxony-Anhalt, the AfD might even achieve an absolute majority, the western states may just need one more election cycle before they realise that the time has come there as well. And precisely because the AfD performed so well in Baden-Württemberg, ZDF apparently pulled out all the stops and presented what many consider a shocking manipulation. Because now we come to the real issue. When ZDF displayed the seat distribution, something immediately caught my attention. Something that statistically simply cannot be correct. And when you actually calculate the graphic properly, you quickly realise that something doesn't add up. Take a look at this ZDF graphic showing the election results. All 4 parties that entered the state parliament are displayed, and next to each party name, the number of seats is shown. But do you notice something? Even though the AfD has 35 seats, more than 3 times as many as the SPD, the blue bar is barely larger than the red bar. In reality, the blue bar should be more than 3 times larger than the red one. But it isn't. So this graphic appears to manipulate the presentation to make the AfD's election success look smaller and less significant. I took the time to recreate the graphic myself based on the actual seat distribution. And my chart looks like this. You can clearly see that the blue bar is significantly larger than the SPD's bar. Now let me show you a direct comparison. I place my graphic exactly over the ZDF graphic. And do you notice something? It becomes very clear that the ZDF graphic appears heavily distorted. The ZDF graphic seems to show only about half of the AfD seats, which raises serious questions about how this graphic was produced. Just think about it. ZDF receives billions of euros in mandatory broadcasting fees from taxpayers, yet apparently cannot produce a simple and accurate chart. And I do not believe that ZDF is incapable of doing this. Creating a correct chart only requires basic technical knowledge, which is why some people believe that this kind of distortion might be deliberate. And this would not even be an isolated case. Many observers say they have seen similar situations in other elections. For some viewers, this raises the question of whether they should continue paying mandatory broadcasting fees because they feel that this kind of reporting is no longer neutral journalism. Instead, critics say it looks more like propaganda for the established parties. So what do you think about this questionable ZDF graphic? Is it simply a mistake, or could it be deliberate manipulation? Write your opinion in the comments and leave a like if you enjoy my reporting.